What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day of Philly sports history for January 14th, 2023. And not much to update on Philly sports. There wasn't any games last night. I mean, Villanova, they played and lost to Butler. They've been struggling with the new coach, and that's something as football season winds down, we're going to get more into some of the college basketball scene since we did take the time to preview it. Just kind of do a midseason check-in and see where we're at and what's going on. But gave me time to think. And before I get into that, real quick, housekeeping. If you haven't done so already, check out the new Back to the Future. That's with a PH, where it's NFL playoffs. We are starting this afternoon. We did our NFL playoff preview as well as how far we think the Eagles are going to go. Also took a look at Howie Roseman's offseason moves this year, and then examined what would have happened if Chip Kelly never got fired and he never got out of the infamous closet. So definitely check that out wherever you get your podcast, Back to the Future with a PH. But something I was thinking about, we talked about before I get into today's This Day, we talked about that Saints-Eagles divisional playoff game down in New Orleans the other day where Sheldon Brown got the hit on Reggie Bush. And there was a song that somebody did. It was a local song, and it was to it had like the melody and the beat from a Red Hot Chili Peppers song. I'm not going to hurt your ears and sing it, but it was in my head all day yesterday. And it kind of got me thinking, you don't really see those produced pump-up songs anymore. We had back in the 90s, it was the Bringing Home for Jerome. I remember there's all kinds of rap songs and all whatever back then for the teams. I believe there was some for the Sixers when well, actually, maybe the Sixers is what changed that. Because when they went on their run in 2001, it was Ain't No Stopping Us Now was kind of like their theme. And even with the Phillies this year, they had Dancing on My Own, which was that. But I miss a good, like, pump-up, like, song, like the Bringing Home for Jerome or the one, like, for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And what happened to them? Now, I mean, I'm not talking about those knucklehead dudes in San Diego this year that did like the four white dudes that were just like trying to be cool hip hop guys, but like a decently produced pump up song about the team, get the players in there, throw some highlights, get some Merle Reese in there. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe those songs are out there and I'm just missing it, or maybe it's because all of the radio stations now are owned by big conglomerates. So sometimes you don't have local DJs, but I don't know. If there are some pump-up songs out there for the Eagles for this year, send them my way because I'm a sucker for that. I definitely like them, and it gets me pumped up too. But anyway, all right, so this day, Philly sports history, we are going to go back to 1922. And on this day in 1922, Ben Shibe passed away. So you're probably asking, who the hell is Ben Shibe? Well, he was president and part owner of the Philadelphia Athletics. For some of you that may or may not know, especially some, and this is not a knock against the generation. So if you're a younger person listening to this, you might not know that at one point, Philly had two baseball teams. You had the Phillies and the A's. And yes, the same A's now that are playing in Oakland that might be moving to Vegas at some point. But they played both in the same city, and before they moved to Oakland, they were in Kansas City. But Ben Shibe was the president of the Philadelphia A's and part of, I think he owned like 50% of the team. So he worked before that, before he got involved with the A's, he worked for the A.J. Reach Sporting Good Company. And basically they were a Philadelphia company that made baseballs, footballs, boxing gloves, just basically manufactured them. He had, I forget where it was located, but like he had like brought the factory into Philly. It gave people jobs. It was actually a pretty cool story. But he was the man that him and his sons actually invented the machine to mechanically stitch baseballs. So prior to that, they were basically, all the baseballs were hand sewn. So this allowed the baseballs to be standardized. So all the baseballs were the same. So before they really kind of took off with this process and this machine, some of the records kind of could be questionable, and like I don't know how different the baseballs were, but now like that's a big deal in Major League Baseball, making sure all the baseballs are the same, same weight, same whatever. But it wasn't until Ben Shibe and his sons came up with this way to mechanically sew the baseballs that everything became sort of standardized and everybody was on the same page. And this company actually, the AJ Reach Sporting Good Company, they also created the first prototype for Major League Baseball batting helmets because in light of what happened with Damar Hamlin, back then there was a lot of injuries and players actually died from getting hit in the head with helmets. So local Philly company that was responsible for standardizing the stitching of baseballs as well as the batting helmet prototype, which didn't necessarily get used, but it kind of led the way for batting helmets to be used and manufactured. So back to Ben Shibe, who died this day in 1922. After he left the AJ Reach Sporting Good Company, he obviously had some money because he figured out how to standardize producing baseballs. He bought 50% of the A's and was named the president. So why is he an important person? Why are we talking about him? He was the owner of a team that doesn't even exist in Philly. Well, Shibe Park was named after him, and Shibe Park was where the Phillies and the A's both played their games. You may know it more famously as Connie Mack Stadium, which they changed in the 50s after the A's had left. But it was located at 21st and Lehigh. Probably not necessarily it doesn't show up on the tours that you get from like if you take a double-decker bus tour or a trolley tour, but I've driven past it. There is a historical marker there where I think it was where like the home plate corner was. But everybody loved the stadium. It had a lot of good reviews. It just was old. So if you're ever in Philly and you're interested in like the historical markers, there is one at 21st and Lehigh for Shibe Park / Connie Mack Stadium. But figured it was a slow day. Figured I'd give you guys a little nugget of history there. But on this day, in 1922, Ben Shibe passed away. And just to kind of preview some things, I do have some, because of the way I plan and everything there, I do have a future episode and future things to talk about of what would have happened if the Phillies left and the A's stayed and different things like that. So stay tuned for that. But on this day in 1922, Ben Shibe, the former owner and president of the Philadelphia Athletics, died on this day. He also was responsible for standardizing the production of Major League Baseball. So go have yourselves a Saturday. Enjoy the playoffs. Dougie P plays. But until next time, I will see you when I see you.